Good
Good
morning. Here we are in our Ramblin van in northern Alberta, Canada on our trip. What are we going to do?
Well, today we're doing something just a little bit different because we had a request from one of our subscribers to explain some of the gear and to go through the van and talk about our build and what we have on it and why. And so we're going to do a Here for Gear video.
All right, so we're going to talk about and give you a tour of the outside of the van, the inside of the van, talk about the systems of the van and how they work in supporting how we use the van, and then some of the gadgets and gear that we use to make van life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about all those kinds of things. But before we kind of get to that, let's talk about some basics, right, of decisions that you need to make if you decide to choose van as your mode of transportation or your home or van lifestyle or whatever it is, right? So some of those decisions can be super overwhelming. I would encourage you to do as much research as you can before you jump into it. But there's some basic decisions you need to make first off, and that is, what kind of van do you want to go with, or do you even want to go with a van? First off, living in a small space isn't for everybody and not for every couple. You either have that relationship that it works or maybe you don't. So think about van in the first place. 84 square feet is what we have, which is the biggest van they make, Sprinter 170 extended.
Yeah.
24 feet long, but it's still a really, really small space. And so
Really small, especially after tacos.
yes.
Really small.
And so there's always a trade-off, space versus convenience.
Yeah.
And so those are things to think about. But the first decision, if you decide to go with a van, you can DIY. Do you have the skills and the tools and the things that are required?
Save a lot of money doing it.
Save a lot of money building your own van. You can
Are
build
you
it
handy or are you not?
exactly like you want it to be, right? Or you can go with a major manufacturer like Winnebago Revels or Storyteller
Driving off
vans.
the lot. If you're in a hurry to get your van, that's the way to go.
Right. And they're very, very nice, capable vans.
Yeah.
There's semi-custom and custom build vans, right?
Yeah.
And there's tons of builders out there. Some are more amenable to doing customization than others, right? But those are kind of the three big categories that you can go with.
So you have to look at cost, how you're going to use the van, and how much time do you want to invest in waiting for your van to be complete.
Right. So that's probably the most important thing is, how are you going to use the van?
Yeah.
Are you just going to use it on the weekends? Are you going to take short trips with it? Or are you planning on living in it for extended periods of time and traveling long distances?
Where do you want to trip?
Where do you want to go?
camp?
How do you want to camp? So how do you use the van and budget are probably the two most important things, decisions that you need to make. For us, and our decision is we wanted to be off-grid for as long as possible, off-road capable, so we don't have to be in a campground. We can be in a national forest or crown land here in Canada or those kinds of things.
You wanted flexibility.
Flexibility, so we didn't have to worry about the logistics of having campground reservations, and something that was very, very mobile.
Something you could park on your driveway, not have to pay for storage.
And something that didn't take an hour to set up and tear down.
Yeah.
Other than swiveling these two seats around and putting our little tables away and a few other things, we're able to roll pretty quick. Yeah. So we wanted all that flexibility for us, and that's why we went with what we went with. When you're looking at deciding what van to go with, there's three different major manufacturers. There's Mercedes Sprinter vans, and a couple of different sizes of those. There's Ram Pro Masters, and there's different sizes of those. The same thing with the Ford Transits. And so looking at the chassis and what you want there is important as well. What kind of fuel do you want to use? Do you want gasoline or do you want diesel?
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive. How important is ground clearance for you? For it was super important for us to get off-grid and off the beaten path. Maintenance and dealership availability. Obviously with Ford and Ram, you've got a huge dealer network. Not so much with Mercedes. Maintenance cost is a little bit higher with the Mercedes. And then how many customization features are out there or aftermarket manufacturers There's a lot for Fords and ProMasters, but I think the preponderance of them is with Mercedes. And then what size van do you want to live in? You can go really small, you can go with tall roof, you can go really long, or anywhere in between. And so for us, as we were doing research, we were looking for a semi-custom builder. We wanted to go with something that wasn't a major manufacturer. We wanted to be able to customize the interior van, something that wasn't so industrial, but something that was more home-like.
Right.
Because this is our home for the extended time that we're in it.
And we didn't want to build our own van because, number one, we're just not that handy. Number two, we were in a living situation where we were in an apartment, which just doesn't lend itself to being able to do a big building project like that. If you have a big shop or a big garage or something, and you're really handy, and you could totally customize a van for much less cost.
Yeah.
But for us, the convenience of having someone else build it, knowing it was built right, and just being able to pick a few things that we really wanted was really well worth the money.
For sure. So we ended up doing a lot of research online for a semi-custom van builder, and we reached out after finding Chris, who owns Activan Conversions in Reno, Nevada. And we went with Chris, probably because he was the most amenable, met our timeline. He helped us acquire a van itself, and then helped us through the financing process, as well as taxes and titles and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, they were great.
Chris was fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of custom work that we wanted, custom colors and finishes, custom cabinetry that we wanted. We were the first 170 extended build that he did, which was great working with Chris and his group.
It was really good. And their vans already had a lot of the features that we wanted, like the 45-gallon water tank and the higher capacity batteries. So, they had a lot of features we were wanting in the van already, and they were able to customize for our specific needs, especially for, we travel with a cat, as you may know, Butch Cassidy is back there sleeping on the bed. So we needed to be able to accommodate his litter box and things like that. So we had some custom cabinetry done, and they were fantastic about accommodating our needs to their floor plans.
We couldn't be happier with our van. Chris did a great job. I would highly encourage you to reach out to Chris at Activan Conversions in Reno, Nevada, if you're thinking about a semi-custom build. And so with that, we're going to take you around the outside on a tour of the outside. We're going to show you the inside, talk about the systems, and then we're going to talk about some of the gear.
Exciting stuff. So I'm going to kick us off by talking about a few of the features that we have inside the van. First off, we'll start back here with our little bedroom. We need to come around here and take a look at Butch. See, he's very comfortable there. He likes to sleep in that little capsule. So we had van capsules put in, which give us a little bit more room. You can turn the bed, or you can sleep sideways and put your head back up in there and your feet back up in there. But we found that the mattress that we originally had was just not going to cut it. So we got this fancy mattress. And since we got the fancy mattress, it's a little bit too tall to use those van capsules for headspace. So we switched our orientation to go front to back here. You can see in the very back of the van there, we have a couple of little fans. Those are a little gadget item that we got, pretty cheap. And they just kind of help circulate the air. And we also have our curtain, our bug curtain that rolls down and zips up so that we can open the back doors of the van to get circulation through. We loved that feature when we were down at South Padre Island. That just made for a very comfortable sea breeze coming through the van. We have under cabinet lights on both sides so that we can read in bed or what have you. This is our These are our clothes cubbies. You can see all of mine's on this side. Greg is on that side. We have the LED lights. I think that's about it back here. Then, because we went with the extended the extended chassis, gotta get the word right, we were able to have this extra little storage closet here. So in the top we have all of our bathroom gear, the bottom is a pantry, and that is very important because there is not a lot of storage for food in this place. This is our other food cabinet. As you can see, it's tight. Things like cereal boxes do not fit. So what we have found is we have to repackage things into smaller containers. And that's kind of a big process. When we go grocery shopping, everything gets repackaged. A box of cereal doesn't fit, but a small box of cereal fits perfectly in one of these, and we can seal the top with the little vacuum sealer. They stay fresh. And I've got a little bit of a liner down there that doesn't slip, so everything rides just fine. We've been using those for months and months and months, and they're great. We love the long counter space, and that's a feature of the style that we chose from Activan, and then we get this extra because of our extra length cab. So we had enough room to do a little toaster oven, and then our other appliance, we have an induction cooktop. The induction cooktop is great. This surface does not get hot. What it does is it heats the atoms in the pan, so the pan itself gets hot, but as soon as you take the pan off the surface, this stays cool. So that was a great safety feature for a van this size. You know, we don't have a lot of space here. We didn't want the cat coming across or someone, you know, burning or to accidentally put something on there that would get damaged. So that's a great safety feature. Also, we did not want propane. And I know a lot of people, you know, the propane is maybe a little easier, a little cheaper, but the propane also creates a lot of condensation inside the van when you're cooking, and that's something that you don't want. The hardest thing about adapting to small was going from a full-size refrigerator to this. We do have a separate freezer compartment, which is really, really nice. A lot of them don't. And then we have, I think it's 4.3 cubic feet total for the whole thing. So grocery day is a challenge because to get everything to fit in there, you got to repackage and get rid of a lot of the external junk that comes with it. We have a teeny tiny microwave. This runs off of the inverter. This runs off of the inverter, but our little tiny fridge is running all the time on 12 volts. So we don't have to have the inverter on, which is great. The other thing that runs 12 volt is our cooling air conditioner, which is awesome. You just flip that little button on, comes on, keeps it, you know, nice cool air in here. It doesn't take much for a small area. So this is a great little air conditioner. Okay, let's go. Where do I talk about the deep sink? We got a deep sink. This is detachable, so you can rinse things off good. You can stretch that out and rinse off your feet or whatever outside if you really have to. I'm going to talk about our tiny bathroom. Okay, so
we saw a lot of vans that don't have a bathroom.
Yeah. No, we are not those people. Okay, if you are all by yourself, some young guy, you know, you can go off in the woods and take a poop and nobody cares, or we need just a little bit of privacy. I mean, even with this, you know, it's tough in a small space, you know, two people, smells happen. But we knew we wanted a dedicated space for our toilet, and we wanted an inside shower. That's very important to us. The other thing that's very important is we wanted this, which is a little exhaust fan. And if you want to stay married for any length of time, just get one, invest in it. It's worth it. Okay, we have our shower here. This comes off. We have a shower curtain. It comes out. Hot and cold. Now we want to talk about our little toity here. This is a Thetford cassette toilet. So underneath here is a plastic what do you want to call it?
Cassette.
That pops out, and you do not have to have a dump station to empty it. You can empty it in any toilet anywhere. So that's the convenient part about it. This little button runs the water so that you make sure everything gets flushed down into the toilet. There's a little lever here that just opens and closes the bottom valve to let everything fall through. And one important feature, if you're going to go with this type of a toilet, is this little tiny indicator light down at the bottom there. It's green now, but when that little baby turns red, and I call it the red light of impending doom, that means that your tank is full and you need to empty it ASAP. So I think that does it for my portion. Let's talk about the custom cabinet we had done here with Chris. So normally in the, I can't remember what,
Cypress 170.
Cypress 170 floor plan, this area is like a bench with storage underneath. But because we have Butch Cassidy, we asked them to build us a cabinet. We have this is his supplies here, all of his food and toys, and also our little vacuum cleaner. This is a good heavy-duty deep drawer that we keep all of our our computers and electronics in. And then this is his little private toity down here. And that works really, really well. We converted this kind of into a little coffee bar. It's got a plug in there, got under-counter light. So this is a nice little extra usable counter space that would normally be seating. Now for seating, we did have to compromise. We don't have a dedicated, dining area. We just have to flip our seats around, and then we have these little lagoon tables, and these kind of just, you can move them around however you want to. This is not as convenient as having a dedicated dinette, but dinettes take up a lot of room. And as Greg mentioned before, everything in a van is a compromise between convenience and space. So even though this is a little more inconvenient, it still works just fine for us. And so that's what we went with. Another little gadget thing that we want to talk about are these nifty little vents. Now your window rolls down. This pops up into the top of the window frame. It is a screened vent that allows air to pass through, but keeps bugs out. You can see a little bug right there, not coming in. That's really great for circulating some extra air. The other thing that's very important that we just love are our insulated window covers. I'm going to let Greg tell you about these a little bit. They're made by Van Essentials.
So Van Essentials makes the bug screens that cover the doors and the back window or back doors. And then they also make insulated covers for all of your windows. They're custom fit. They make them for the ProMaster, for the Transit, and the Sprinters. I can't imagine van life without them. You get so much heat and cold transfer through your windows that life without these would be almost impossible, especially in winter or hot summer conditions. So they're not cheap, but they're worth every penny of investment.
Most definitely.
So look at Van Essentials or Wonderful or other companies that make those custom covers. We've got them on the front windshield, the two driver and the passenger window, the side here, as well as in the very, very back, even for the side windows, which are just fantastic.
For heat, we went with one of these little jobs. Okay, go ahead. Take it, Greg.
So there's lots of diesel heaters on the market, and they've been used in the trucking industry for a number of years. They work great for van life. Not propane. It just sips fuel out of the diesel tank on the bottom of the truck, and it's set up on a thermostat or a timer. And we've been in 10 and 15 below zero weather, and this little heater is amazing. So that's the little controller on the right side of the vent, which is easy. It does require a little bit of maintenance that we figured out, but one of my favorite features of the van is that heater. And so pulling fuel right out of the fuel tank and then heating your space. And 84 square feet isn't a lot of space, so it heats up nice and fast and keeps us very, very comfortable.
And one important feature of this heater that you need to be aware of is that if your fuel tank gets below a half a tank, this heater will not run. So it's only happened to us one time when we pulled into a town very late at night and didn't fill up the tank after driving for a long ways. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, we woke up. It was in the middle of the winter. It was very, very cold in Nebraska. You know how cold it can get. And so we had to go fill up the tank in the middle of the night. So now we're very conscious. We keep that full all the time. So as long as you keep your tank above a half level, it runs without any issues. Okay.
Okay. Anything else about the inside? How about the max fan?
Oh, yeah, max fan. And this also is a 12 volt. And so if you pop that on, it comes up automatically. It has a little rain sensor, so you can, if you want to use that feature, you can. We did put a cover over it so that we can run it even if it is raining. This pulls the air from the vents, from the windows, up through or out of, and it moves really a surprising amount of air, especially with the space this small. It's really effective at cooling off the interior if you don't want to run the air conditioner.
Okay, let's start up top here with the outside view of the van. Basically, we have 400 watts of solar to help keep our batteries topped off in 3 big large solar panels. We also have in the back, you can see the Starlink, which is located right there on magnets, which is kind of cool. I can relocate that if we're under trees to an open location. But we also have a Roam adventure box where we keep some of our toys like fly fishing and regular fishing tackle and a couple of sets of golf clubs. This is the 12-volt air conditioner by Nomadic, the X3, our bathroom vent, and our Max Air cover vent, all working with a Flatline Van Company roof rack, the power bar light up front, a couple of scene lights that I've put on as well. So it all fits really, really well up top here. Okay, so exterior, we're going to take a look and go from front to back at some of the things that we've put on the van. So we were just up top, and I showed you the Flatline Van Company that has the roof rack. Chris at Activan puts a light bar up there, which is fantastic, right? Really, really lights things up. Runs off of a switch that is located on the steering column. Works fantastic. In addition to those lights on the front, Deb calls them my superfluous lights. These are a new company to the US market called Strands. They've been in Europe for quite a while, but 22,000 looms per each light. And I've mounted those on the bull bar of a Owl Van's Pismo bumper. Gives us a place to light put the lights, as well as a Warn 12K VR winch. It gives us some extra anchor points for self-recovery, as well as some additional protection of the front of the van. Speaking of protection, we did a Line-X liner on the hood that Chris put on for us. A lot of rock chips and those kinds of things as you travel. We've actually already fixed several chips in the windshield, but not too worried about the Line-X cover on the hood of the van. Moving to the side here, as I'd said, we wanted something that was off-road capable, so we went with some BFG KO2 all-terrain tires. We've had those on our Jeep. Absolutely love them. They're quiet from a road noise perspective. They're wearing very, very well on some black Rhino hard alloy wheels that have a little trim piece there, kind of matches the color of the van. But we also wanted to improve the ride of the van itself, so we went with an Agile off-road ride improvement kit for the front suspension. As you can see here, there's a helper shock, Fox shock, and another one that's a coilover inside of that right there. And that gives us a couple extra inches of lift on the front of the van, which has been fantastic. Gives us that ground clearance we wanted. We'll show you in the back in just a little bit here. We went with the Agile Off-Road ride improvement kit in the back as well, but I did switch out those springs to a different set of springs. I'll show those to you in a minute. Also, Line X siding, help with rock chips along the side. And of course, with an all-wheel drive van, you've got a little more elevation, and when you're kind of old, it's hard to get in and out of the van. So we went with the Owl Van's side steps on both sides that give us the easy way to get in and out of the van. Great anchor points if you wanted to mount some accessories to them. And we're super happy with those as well. As I mentioned on the roof, we've got a FVC Flatline Van Company roof rack and side ladder, which has been great. Easy way to get up and down to the roof of the van, get into the Roam Adventure box to get our toys out when we want to play. This is the outside door of our cassette toilet, 5-gallon cassette, makes it super easy to access. You don't have to worry about spilling anything on the inside of the van. It all slides through this little door right here. Take it, it's got wheels. You can roll it into a Starbucks and empty it in their bathroom while you're ordering your latte if you want.
But we don't.
We don't do that. This is the outside of some of those van capsules that Deb was talking about. It gives you extra width of the van. You can sleep sideways if you want. And down here on the bottom is the heavy-duty leaf springs that we went with. We still have an Agile Off-Road shock kit with Fox shocks, but the leaf springs are 15,000-pounded Shadow Mark Deaver leaf springs that give us the extra weight capacity we need on the van. The scene lights, the winch, and a couple other accessories are on an aux beam switch panel that I mounted on the inside that make it easy to power those accessories. On the switch beam, we've got side lights, we've got the front superfluous lights, we have a MGRS Midland radio, we have an ARB twin onboard air compressor that allows us to air down the tires and air them back up to make that ride a little bit smoother outside. And all of those work on that switch panel, which has been really good as well. Let's go around to the back. Exterior storage on the van was important, right? So we've got a trash bag, although when you're in bear country, you don't want to store your trash on the back. But if you do have some stinky trash that we do have on this particular trip, we'll throw it in here before we head down the road and then find a dumpster to dump it in. On the back, we wanted to be able to place outside items, cooking items, propane for our fire pit, and recovery gear such as the MaxTrax boards, spade, axe, chainsaw, and those kinds of things are inside. The Expedition box made by Owl that's mounted on a Sherpa, tire carrier by Owl as well. You don't want that under your van, especially if you get bogged down. It's hard to get it out if you have a flat tire, so having it on the back of the van is great. Plus, it's a step for me if I want to climb up on the tire carrier to get to the Starlink that's up there as well. So that's the outside back of the van. On this side, we'll talk about it a little more detail, but this is our 30 amp shore power when we talk about some of the systems on the van next. The other side capsule, of course, and we have a Fiamma 80S awning, which is great. It extends your outdoor living space. It's a little breezy right now, so we don't have it out, but having outdoor living space is great when you're living in a tiny van. Let's go up front real quick. One last thing I forgot to mention. This is our antenna for an MGRS radio, which is great. It's got a weather channel on it as well. That way we can listen to local forecasts or weather warnings that may be in the area, or communicate with other folks in the MGRS network. Right here is the ARB twin with an air chuck, and it's mounted in the side on a mount with a braided line system, and you'll notice there's another line that heads someplace else other than the front air chuck, and I'll show you where that's at. That braided line runs all the way back here. to an air chuck back here so we can plug in for air in the back of the van. That keeps me from having to carry a 25-foot hose. I only need a 10-foot hose to plug into the front or plug in the back, and all that runs off that aux beam switch, which has just been great. Underneath the van, we wanted to go have extended range, so we put on an S&B 45-gallon diesel fuel tank with a large fuel filler neck.
Why do you need a large fuel filler neck?
So if you have a card like Mud Flap or Open Roads, where you can get fuel discounts, fleet prices for diesel fuel at major truck stops, you'll need the larger fuel neck to fill in, because the pumps that they use pump fuel faster through a larger neck. But it's a great way to save money on bulk fuel. And with a 45-gallon fuel tank, we've got a 750-mile range. And so a great upgrade to have, especially when you go to some place where fuel is expensive, or you know it's going to be expensive and you're in a less expensive area. You can fill up your tank before you get there, get through that area, and then on to the next place where it's cheaper again. Our aux beam is located right there. And as you can see, that runs the radio, the lights, and the air compressor all together in one place. Last thing I'm going to talk about, I guess, is you want to look good doing it. And so we found a local guy in Denver to do our wrap, Lucid Wraps. And he did a great job. We wanted to be a little unique. We wanted to stand out. We wanted to look good. And so we went with the rolling traffic cone color of orange. All right, let's talk a little bit about systems. Okay, we're back inside the van. It's a little breezy today, so
Chilly.
and a little chilly. So last piece that we're going to talk about a little bit is some of the systems in the van, specifically our water and our electric. The more water you have, the longer you can stay out is the bottom line. And so we wanted a van with plenty of water capacity. And Chris at Activan Conversions, with this particular floor plan, installed a 45-gallon water tank for us, which has been really, really good. We can go a long time without having to refill. Important to have a lot of electricity. Much like water, the more electricity battery storage that you have, the better, right? The longer you can stay out there. The van alternator does charge the batteries when you're running down the road. You know, it cycles on and off and throws around, 1,800 watts of power into the batteries as you're driving down the road. But when we're not driving down the road, we've got 400 watts of solar, which has been so far plenty of solar to keep the batteries charged up for us as we're using the battery power. So two sources that are going in. In addition to that, when we are at a campground or at a friend's house, we can plug in with shore power. We do have a 30 amp shore power service that we can plug in, and that is what you have at most campgrounds. So then you're not worried about charging the batteries. It's charging through the inverter and charger, which is a Victron system, which has been really good as well. Now that charges up our battery bank, which are Battle-Born lithium iron phosphate batteries. We have 810 amp hours of battery power, which is almost a kilowatt, which has been really, really good. The Winnebago Rebel, as an example, is around 285 or 300 amp hours, I think. We just didn't feel like that was going to be enough for what we wanted to be doing off-grid, so we went with a larger battery bank. We could have gone bigger, but lithium iron phosphate batteries are kind of expensive, so we went with what we went with. The other thing that's a benefit about those versus lead acid, there's tons of material out there. Do your research, but you can have those inside, and you don't need to vent them, and those kinds of things that are a lot easier than a lead acid battery, and a lot lighter as well. So those two systems that we've talked about, water as well as batteries, are important. The last one I kind of showed you briefly on the roof, and that's our Starlink. We have a mobile system. We use that to stay connected to friends and family. We also watch the internet, YouTube or Hulu, or watch movies in the evenings, upload videos, these kinds of things.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
And it's also kind of a safety feature as you get out in the middle of nowhere where you've got no cell service. You can switch your phone to a Wi-Fi calling and still have connectivity. So fantastic. Highly recommend Starlink. We went with a system called Star Mount that's out in California. They gave us the heavy-duty case that we put magnets on to attach it to the roof of the van on the rack. But it also converts it from a regular 110, which we'd have to have the inverter on, to a 12-volt system. But it's been fantastic as well. All-in-one system. Star Mount Systems has been great, combined with the Starlink satellite. You got a clear view of the sky, and you've got high-speed internet going down the highway, and helps us with being connected. The one thing I forgot to mention with the electric is our inverter, which is a 3,000 watt inverter. I wouldn't go anything smaller than 3,000 watts. The only thing we need the inverter for is the 5-gallon hot water heater, the microwave, the induction cooktop, and the outlets that run like the toaster oven or our chargers or coffee maker and those kinds of things. So that's our Ramblin' van in a nutshell. Hope you've enjoyed the video.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different for us. It gets us in front of the camera for a change.
No, we don't like it.
But thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the road.
Bye.